How is it, everyone? Returning to NBA Trend Watch. Now pay attention. I need you to stop whatever you are doing right this moment because we must discuss what may be the most essential signing within Indiana Fever history. And no, I am not exaggerating. Azura Stevens has done almost everything except write it in the sky. She wants to be in Indiana. She desires to play next to Caitlin Clark. She wants to become a Fever player. And honestly, if the Fever front office does not complete this deal, they could be making the biggest mistake of the entire offseason. So right now, we will break down exactly why this move needs to happen, what Stevens brings to the court, and why Indiana has no excuse to let this opportunity slip away. If you are a Fever supporter, you will want to hear every single word of this. Let us begin.
This the kind of news I needed. Everybody else making moves. Everybody else is making moves. So why should the Indiana Fever be sitting on their hands when they blew the last off season? This is some good news. This is my top prospect.
Before we get into the specifics, let me ensure we all understand who Azura Stevens is. Because some of you may only recognize her as that tall player from the Sparks. And that would be seriously underestimating her. Azura Stevens stands 6 feet 6 inches, plays forward and center, came out of UConn, and was selected 6th overall by the Dallas Wings back in 2018. She earned all rookie honors that season. She has suited up for the Wings, the Chicago Sky, and the Los Angeles Sparks. And here is what counts most. She already owns a championship ring. She played a key role when the Chicago Sky captured the WNBA title back in 2021. She understands what winning looks like. She knows the feeling of a championship locker room. And she knows what it requires to deliver when the pressure reaches its peak. Now, let me walk you through the 2025 season, because this is where things get truly compelling. Stevens delivered the finest season of her whole career. While playing for the Sparks, she put up 12.8 points per game. She grabbed 8 rebounds per contest. She handed out 2.1 assists. She tallied 1.2 steals and 1.1 blocks. And here is the statistic that ought to get every single Fever supporter to rise and take notice. She hit 38% of her 3-point attempts. 38% from a 6 feet 6 inches forward. Do you realize how uncommon that is? Do you realize how much value a player like that brings to today's WNBA? A player who can guard the rim, battle for boards, switch on to smaller opponents on defense, and then step outside and sink threes on the offensive end. That is not merely a solid player. That is a rare talent. And that rare talent is essentially pleading to come to Indianapolis.
She'll be joining Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Bree Jones, okay? They got better. The Indiana Fever need to figure out who are we going to have as our power forward to combat that, because that team just got better. We cannot afford to play games and do Stephanie White and friends all over again with Natasha Howard. Absolutely not.
Now, allow me to guide you through the social media clues, because this is where the situation becomes really interesting. Stevens has not been subtle about this. Not even slightly. It began back in January of 2026 when she was competing in the second season of Unrivaled Down in Miami. Fever supporters on social media started telling her that she ought to come to Indiana. And instead of ignoring them like most players would, Stevens began replying. She dropped eye emojis. She liked comments. She interacted with fans who were literally editing her into a Fever uniform. Then it intensified. A fan shared a picture of Stevens in an Indiana Fever jersey and tagged her on social media. Stevens did not merely like the post. She answered it with what fans called an intrigued response. Another fan told her the jersey would look even better if she actually played in it. She replied with a comment that made Fever Nation go completely wild. Then just a few days ago, Stevens posted images of herself wearing different WNBA jerseys on Instagram. She included jerseys from teams she has played for in the past, like Dallas and Chicago. But she also included an Indiana Fever jersey. And here is the crucial part. Indiana is the only team in that set of photos that she has never actually suited up for. Let that settle in. Every other jersey represented a team from her history. The Fever jersey represented something else entirely. It pointed toward her future. And to make it even more clear, fans noticed that she added a specific reaction only on the Fever photo, which she did not add to any of the others. Fever supporters immediately started comparing her potential arrival to the effect that Dana Bonner had when she joined Indiana. And while some fans debated whether that comparison was fair, the overall agreement was unmistakable. Indiana must get this done.
Perfect. Big. For a Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston situation, this girl step out and shoot threes like it's nothing. 6'6", 6'6", long arms, rebound, play defense, shoot the 3-point shot, attack closeouts, pump fake, put it on the ground, midi pull up. She can do it all offensively, and she doesn't need to be the primary option. She don't need to be the number 2 option. She don't even need to be the number 3 option. You know why? Because she was none of those things with the LA Sparks.
Now, allow me to discuss why Azura Stevens is not merely a solid addition for the Fever. She is the essential component. And I state that with complete certainty. The Indiana Fever are coming off one of the most remarkable and painful seasons in franchise history. In 2025, they faced a degree of difficulty that would have crushed most teams. Caitlin Clark suffered a groin injury in mid-July and did not return. That is their cornerstone player, their top overall draft choice, the most popular athlete in the whole league, lost for half the season. But the Fever did not break. They did not lose on purpose. They did not surrender. Sophie Cunningham went down with a knee injury. Sydney Colson tore her ACL. Ari McDonald broke her foot. Chloe BBY went down with a knee issue. At one point, the Fever had 6 players on the injury list. They used 18 different players across the season. Their starting lineup changed almost every game. And yet, they still reached the playoffs. They defeated the Atlanta Dream in the first round, securing their first playoff series win since 2015. Then they pushed the Las Vegas Aces to 5 games in the semifinals before eventually being eliminated. It was courageous. It was motivating. And it showed that this team possesses the spirit, the environment, and the leadership to contend for a title. But spirit alone does not earn championships. You need skill. You need the correct parts surrounding your stars. And the Fever have a very clear gap in their lineup that has been obvious to everyone since Caitlin Clark arrived in Indianapolis. They require a stretch big. They need a forward who can defend the rim, collect rebounds, and spread the floor. They need someone who does not block the lane and remove driving paths for Clark. They need someone who can move outside and make 3-point shots so that defenses cannot swarm Clark every time she attacks the basket. They need Azura Stevens. Consider this. Caitlin Clark averaged 18.5 points and 8.5 assists per game across her first 2 WNBA seasons. She ranks among the finest passers in the league's history. But what value does a once-in-a-generation passer have if the teammates around her cannot turn those passes into scores? What good is Clark's drawing power if nobody is stretching the floor to benefit from it? Natasha Howard started at power forward for Indiana last season, and while she played well, she is a strong candidate to depart in free agency. The 4 spot has been a rotating door since Clark showed up. They have been looking for the proper match at that position for 2 years now. Stevens is that match. She is the solution they have been seeking.
Taken in the expansion draft, but there is a chance that she will hold on. There is a very high chance that she could get taken by maybe Toronto will try to grab her through regular free agency. Dallas, I think Dallas will definitely be taking a long, hard look at her and trying to bring her in, but they don't have nothing. The best opportunity for Azura Stevens to play high-level basketball.
Caitlin Clark running the point, directing the offense, generating confusion with her court vision and shooting range. Kelsey Mitchell alongside her. The seasoned scorer who put up over 16 points per contest and carried the squad through the playoffs when Clark was hurt. Lexi Hall on the wing, the defensive stopper and 3-point shooter who competed with Stevens in unrivaled and already shares on-court rapport with her. Aliyah Boston at the center spot, the prior top overall selection and 3-time All-Star who controls the paint and the glass. And then at power forward, Azura Stevens, 6 feet 6 inches, connecting on 38% of her threes, blocking shots at 1.1 per game, pulling down 8 rebounds each night, switching onto guards on the outside, and stretching the floor for Clark to work. That is not merely a decent lineup. That is a title-caliber lineup. That is a headache for every other team in the WNBA. You cannot send a double at Clark because Stevens will punish you from deep. You cannot pack the paint against Boston because Stevens is standing at the arc ready to shoot. You cannot take advantage of defensive mismatches because Stevens can cover positions 1 through 5 with her reach and quickness. She addresses every single weakness the Fever currently have. Every single one. And here is the wonderful aspect of this potential signing. The Fever are in an excellent spot to get it done. Both Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston remain on their rookie contracts, meaning they are on team-friendly deals. That opens up considerable cap room to pursue a player like Stevens. The new collective bargaining agreement is bringing higher pay across the league, but Indiana has the financial room to be bold. General Manager Amber Cox has spoken openly about the team's goals. Re-signing Kelsey Mitchell is the top priority, but after that, adding the right complementary pieces around the core is essential. Stevens is the ultimate complementary piece. And do not overlook the unrivaled connection. Stevens played next to Lexi Hull on Rose BC during the first season of Unrivaled, where they captured the first championship together. Stevens recorded 19 points and 18 rebounds in that title game. She and Hull already have on-floor chemistry. They understand each other's moves. They believe in each other. Then in the second season of Unrivaled, Stevens was moved to Hive BC, where she played alongside Kelsey Mitchell. So now she has ties to 2 Fever players. She has been forming relationships with members of this team in a competitive setting. That is not something you can fake. That chemistry is genuine, and it would carry over instantly to the WNBA season.
Draft without hearing her name called and could quickly find herself at the center of one of the few bidding wars that will actually take place in free agency. The 30-year-old played the best basketball of her career in 2025, averaging 13 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block per game. She also improved vastly as a three-point shooter, knocking down 38% of her shots. She shot nearly 40% from 3 as a stretch 4. Sign me up. 38% from 3 as a 6'6" stretch floor.
Now, some folks will push back on this. They will claim Stevens is 30 and beyond her peak. To those people, I ask, did you watch the 2025 season? She just recorded career best numbers across the board. 12.8 points, 8 rebounds, 38% from deep. Those are not the stats of a fading player. Those are the stats of someone hitting her stride at the perfect moment. And 30 is not old in the WNBA. Diana Taurasi played at a high level into her 40s. Sue Bird still ran the point for Seattle at 41. DeWanna Bonner arrived in Indiana at 34 and ranked among the most impactful players on the squad. Stevens has at least 3 to 4 strong years remaining, and those years happen to line up perfectly with the Fever's title window. Others may note that she has dealt with injuries in the past, and that is a valid concern. Stevens missed time with a foot issue in 2019. She had a knee problem in 2020. She underwent arm surgery that kept her out for the first half of the 2024 season, but she returned healthy and dominant in 2025, playing 44 games for the Sparks and looking as good as ever. The injury history is worth tracking. Absolutely. But it should not be a deal-breaker for a player of this quality at this price. And then there are those who will argue the Fever should target younger options through the draft. Indiana holds the 10th pick in the 2026 draft, and skilled players will be available. But here is the reality. Rookies take time to grow. Rookies face growing pains. The Fever's championship window is open right now. Caitlin Clark is entering her 3rd season. Aliyah Boston is in her prime. Kelsey Mitchell just showed she can lead a team deep into the postseason. You do not squander a title window waiting for a rookie to learn. You bring in a proven veteran who already has a ring and knows how to help a winning team immediately. That is exactly what Azura Stevens is. Let me also address the competition for her services, because the Fever are not the only team that would love to add Stevens to their roster. She will be one of the most desired free agents on the market. Multiple teams will come calling. The Connecticut Sun could use her versatility. The Seattle Storm are always seeking front-court depth. Even her former club, the Chicago Sky, might try to bring her back. But Indiana has something that none of those teams have. Indiana has Caitlin Clark. And playing with Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball chance. It is a brand chance. It is a visibility chance. It is an opportunity to perform on the largest stage in women's basketball every single night. The Fever led the league in attendance last season. Their games drew millions of TV viewers. Being a Fever player means being in the spotlight in a way no other team in the league can match. And based on everything Stevens has been posting on social media, she understands that. She wants that. She is prepared for that. So, here is my message to Amber Cox and the entire Indiana Fever front office. Get this agreement done. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not get tricky. Do not try to underpay her and hope she returns to the table. Azura Stevens is telling you exactly what she wants. She wants to be a Fever player. She wants to play with Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. She wants to contend for a championship in one of the finest basketball environments in the country. All you have to do is make it happen. The Fever came within 2 games of the WNBA Finals last season without their best player for half the year. Imagine what this team looks like at full strength with a healthy Caitlin Clark running the offense and Azura Stevens stretching the floor and guarding the rim. That is a finals team. That is potentially a championship team. And it all begins with one signing. The clock is ticking. Free agency opens on April 12th. The signing period starts on April 16th. Every day that passes is a day another team could jump in and take Stevens away. Indiana cannot afford to wait. They cannot afford to hesitate. The missing piece is right there, waving her arms, posting in a Fever jersey on Instagram, replying to fans, dropping clues left and right. She could not be more obvious if she held up a sign that read, "Sign me Indiana." So, Fever Nation, let me hear from you in the comments. Do you want Azura Stevens on this team? Do you believe she is the missing piece that moves Indiana from a semi-final team to a championship team? And what other moves do you want to see the Fever make this offseason? Drop your thoughts below. Be sure to hit that like button if you agree this deal needs to happen. Subscribe to NBA Trend Watch if you have not already so you never miss a video. Press that notification bell so you are the first to know when the Fever make their move. And I will see you in the next one.